Welcome to Behind the Booking, an interview series where I, Joshua Wade, sit down with entertainment industry professionals to uncover the business behind the bookings. Brought to you by the Booked Up app and the Booked Up Believers community, helping actors stay booked up without working a 9 to 5. Today, we have a very special guest. She's a female business owner and CEO of one of the top talent agencies in the Southeast region. With over 15 years of experience, she represents talent across commercials, film, television, modeling, and voiceover. She's built a reputation for excellence and dedication to her craft, with clients whose credits include working with major production companies such as BET, FX, Hulu, HBO, and Netflix. Please welcome the founder and owner of the Carol Shaginaw Talent Agency, Miss Carol Shaginaw.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. That's a lovely introduction. I appreciate it, but I'm glad to be here. Like I said, I'm very excited for you and this app and all that you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you so much, Carol. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really mean it.
I like to start off every interview by asking the question, what inspired you to become a talent agent and what led you to eventually start your own agency?
So my path and journey is probably a little different than most of my colleagues and friends in the industry, but I got into this industry through my daughters. And at the time, they were little bitty tots. Now they are young, grown adults. So in the women's, but they were little bitties back then. And I knew nothing about this industry. I was in the financial world. And so I became a stay-at-home mom with the two little ones, and everywhere we went, I would have people say, "Oh my gosh, these kids are just beautiful. They need to be on camera. They need to be in theater. Their personalities are explosive. Wow." So I said, "Well, how do you do that?" I knew nothing. I'm telling you, nothing about this industry. So I did some research, found out the first key is to get into acting classes. And I thought, okay, they can do that. Well, and there happened to be a studio very close to our home. And so that's the route that we went. And then the studio owner and I became very good friends. And she needed someone to help her in the studio on the business side of the industry. And my husband and I had owned businesses before. I had been in the financial world, so I knew business. I just did not know this business. And she was the expert in this business, so we kind of traded off there and taught one another certain things. We're still very good friends to this day, but she was a huge mentor. She taught me as a mom of child actors and how to navigate this industry. But I, in turn, helped her grow her studio. So it was an acting studio, um, just over the years. And so what started out as just a small part-time job grew basically into a full-time job, grew her studio. I was working with casting directors, agents, producers, directors, and I kept hearing the voice again as the years went on. Wow, you would make a great agent. And I thought, nope, I'm, the mom of these two little kids. This is what we're going to do for now. So I didn't know. But over time, my daughters, when they hit middle school, they had other interests. And so I say they grew out of the business and I grew further into the business because neither of them are in the industry anymore. They may come back one day, who knows? But so the timing became just right, and I was approached by an agency, um, and at that time, I was like, "You know what? Yeah, this is it. This is where I need to be." So I moved over to the agency side, and like I said, it took some time for me to decide to do that. I, in fact, had one of my casting directors call me one day at the studio and tell me, "So when are you gonna become an agent? Because I need to talk to you about some people." And I thought, I'm not going to do that. The timing was not right then. And another little conversation that I had about that with my then boss and mentor at the studio, I told her, I said, I'm thinking about this, but I'm just not sure. I have an offer. And I had talked to some other agencies within Atlanta at that time who I would see at our showcases and in passing and at workshops and whatever. And so she and I, my mentor, she and I sat down and she said, as your boss, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. This will be terrible for you. And she said, but as your friend, you are so ready for this, and this is going to allow you to grow in ways that I could never grow with her there. And she said, take it, go after it, go do this. And so having that support, and that encouragement, I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And so I did. So I worked for another agency, for an agency, I should say, for the first agency ever that I worked for a couple of years. And then the timing became very, very right for me to open my own agency. And like I said, my husband and I had been business owners before. It just was the perfect timing again. So I always encourage, because all of this, the kind of the backstory for all of this is listen. Listen to others around you. Someone's telling me all of this about my children. I listened. I acted upon it. People are telling me this about myself. I didn't listen for a very long time. And then I started listening because the timing was right. And then I acted upon it. And so I opened my agency in March of 2020. We all know what happened on March 13th. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I just left a salaried plus commission with another agency and opened my own. And then the industry, was closed. We closed up until that September. But it was all perfect timing because I had contracted out so many people for my agency. And so I had to turn the roles and said, okay, what you're contracted for to do for me, such as accounting, social media, administrative stuff, that kind of thing. I said, let's work together and let me contract you, but I'm going to do the work. But I want to make sure I'm doing it according to industry professional standards, that sort of thing. So it's a lot of teamwork going on there. So that took me through until September. And then since then, it's all history. It's been nothing but gangbusters. We've all had our rides, the highs and lows that we experience in this industry with our strikes and, any other disruptions that we come across. But no doubt, hustling and staying in the mindset of do the work is what has led me thus far. And excited to see what brings, what brings to us around the corner, what happens next. So
we all know that was a great decision that you made. I personally am
and
glad.
yes, I was going to say that's when I met you way back in 2017. So we've been together a long time.
We had
Yeah,
this relationship. Um,
same.
so when you look for, excuse me, what do you look for when you're adding new talent to your client? And do you add talent that is union and non-union?
So I do. I sign both union and non-union. Of course, looking for talent, the skill set that you have in the performance side is always important, but it's not always the deciding factor. Um, a level of professionalism is so important. And then there are so many things that fall underneath that level of professionalism. Communicating, good business practices, reliability, loyalty, trustworthiness, all of those things come into play. And so on top of the performance side, of course, but sometimes, you meet people who are super, super talented, but maybe we're just not a good fit. And that's why when I meet actors, and I'm a people person, and so I like to talk to people and get to know people. And, sometimes I feel like it's the perfect fit. And then sometimes I think, wow, you're a really good person, really great actor. but maybe we're just not the right fit. And then on the other end of that too is the need. So having the need on my roster. I'm not one of the bigger agencies where I have my talent, 10 people deep who are the same type of person. I keep it very slim, very unique to each individual so that when I sign you, I know that I can pitch and I can submit you, and we're going to get the ball rolling. We are going to carry on and keep that hustle going. So there has to be a need on the roster too, um, because, in my opinion, is you don't want that competition within the agency and within the roster. It's tough enough outside. So within, I want to be able to sign you and get you working too. So there's a lot of factors that come into play. Um, I also like to add, just because you may get a no or we're going to pass kind of rejection, as a lot of actors see it. And I say it's not rejection, it's selection. Maybe you weren't selected right away, but that's not permanent. And that's what carries you through in this industry, regardless if it's signing with an agency, but even with bookings, with auditions, it's a selection process. And so maybe it's just a pass right now, and maybe there's other opportunities. So I do tell people, if you have the need, in 6 months, check back in with me and let's see if we're a good fit at that point. If it's a personality conflict or something, I like to work with really nice people and genuine people and humble people. um, I can spot that, and in people who maybe do not carry that characteristic, or really those who carry the characteristic is who I'm drawn to. So sometimes you're just not the right fit, and then sometimes you are the right fit, but maybe the timing's not right. Lots and lots of factors that go into it.
I can imagine that you probably get just ample submissions
Oh,
constantly
all the time. Yeah.
from different actors. So, what makes a submission from an actor stand out to you
Mm,
as to even, need them?
yeah. Great question. Well, everyone should be familiar with Actors Access and Casting Networks. Those are the two top profile platforms that are used for actors in our industry. There are several others, but those two have your union projects, and they have non-union as well. But those are the top that are used. And so having those profiles in a presentable, professional manner, having your resume completed, having strong headshots, having any kind of media, whether that's booked work or maybe it's created work, but something that we can showcase your skills when, as agents, we are pitching you to casting or to decision makers in the industry. So, having professional profiles, again, that falls under that level of professionalism. So knowing what those profiles are, number one, because on my submissions through my website, sometimes people will put an NA in a locked question that I have on there that says, upload your actor success profile, and it's locked. So you have to put something in there in order to move to the next one. Sometimes people will put an NA, or I don't know what this is, or here's my backstage link, or here's a YouTube video, or something. They put something in there to be able to move to the next one. And then the next one is for your casting networks, and they'll do the same thing. And I'm like, that never even makes it to me for review, because they're missing the required information. So that tells me you're not ready, and that's okay. Everybody starts with absolutely nothing but their identity in this industry. So you've got who you are, then you've got some contact information. And so hopefully that person will get into training, into some acting classes where someone can teach them the industry, not just the performance piece, but the business side of the industry as well. And that's so near and dear to my heart, because I'm a business mindset to begin with. And then I learned not the true performance and how I can perform, but watching actors and learning from mentors and learning from my colleagues and industry people, the performance side. But the business side, so many actors will kind of try to skip through that just to get to an agent. And I'm like, you're not ready. You're not ready. And if we were to sign you when you're not ready, we are not doing you any service and definitely not doing the agency any service. So the rules and the regulations are there kind of, for a reason when you're submitting to agencies. And most of us have websites that you submit to. Some will take email submissions, and some people do email their submissions to me. And like you said, it's overwhelming. It's in the hundreds of them. And that's why no one really ever gets a response to say, we're passing on you because blah, 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 or you need to do this, this, and this. There's just not enough hours in the day. And so I like to have referrals. I don't just strictly go off of referrals, but I sure do like it because it helps me to understand where you are as an actor and that you have those relationships in the industry that are going to help support you and support us as team members, as partners in this industry, because we all cannot go at this alone. And so we need that support system, whether that is through an acting studio with an acting coach or a mentor or someone in the industry to help guide you. So, submissions will come in all the time. Some will have such information that doesn't even make it past an administrative person clearing for it. And those are usually the ones that just skip out on the required profiles. Then after that, the process is, all right, let's go in, let's review the profiles. Let's see, wow, they look amazing. Let's see if there's a need on the roster. Because like I said, I don't want to stack my people 10 deep. I want to take care of those who are on my roster already and who are doing the work to do the work. I say that all the time. You got to do the work to do the work. So it's a process. It's a big process, but it's one that I love too.
That's very interesting. I think you made a really good point about referrals, and
Mhm.
you more so would prefer referrals, but I never really heard an agent say that I'm also looking to see if you have a support system. That's very really didn't cross my mind, whether it be
Mm.
referral from an acting coach or of course, especially maybe an actor that's already on your roster. But that's very good. Yeah, I want to know if you have a support system outside of just me and you.
Yes,
Because that helps your success in the
it
industry.
does. It does. It helps all of us. It helps even when we look at our partners who are so that maybe you never even see, but those who are in casting or those who are in production, and the whole line of people in this industry. When you have that support system, it's only bringing value. If you try to go at this alone, boy, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So I do. So I look at those who are referring as support systems, and then let's say that maybe you don't have a referral, but I'm like, oh, look who they're training with. They're working out with Joshua Wade. Going through and looking. I want to know that because you've got to always be in some kind of training in this industry, because much like that of an athlete, the minute you kind of take a break, sit back, think you're really good, you get a little rusty and it starts to show. Or you get in your head and you get that negative headspace and it starts to show. So having that support system, you've got somebody to fall back on that understands the industry, because people who are not in our industry, they do not understand what we all go through. So what an actor goes through just to get the opportunity to get an audition doesn't even mean that you've booked the work when you get that audition. So having people who understand and can support you keeps your head strong, keeps you in a good headspace. Um, Now, the biggest referral that I love is when a casting director calls me and says, "Hey, you need to reach out to this person. Wow, go get them." And I'm like, "We'll get right on that." Because they've got their eye on them for something. So that's like your fast pass. That's like the quick lane right there. So
So, what qualities or behaviors do you consistently see in actors who stay booked?
mm, that constant level of professionalism. A booking takes a lot. It takes a lot. You've got to have the skill set. You've got to have the energy. You've got to have the availability because not always is everyone available. And so somebody who's in first position may not be available. Then they move to second position because they are available. And so there you go. Um, or being that right fit. It can come down to, you're pinned for something. And it's like, well, you're close, but and until we get that offer, do we know that you are booked? And so, there's so many different factors involved, but and some are completely out of your control. Some may even go to someone who's not even the top pick with the craft and their artistry. It may be, well, they need this specific look and they need this specific height. And well, they got some skills, but you know what? We can work with that.
Mhm, mhm.
Sometimes it goes that way, and well, that it's also out of your control. So
Yeah.
the level of professionalism, meaning making sure that you are working on your craft every single day, making sure that you are investing in you as a performer and as a business owner. So every actor is a business owner. Every actor is the CEO of their business, right? So with that, you got to invest in your business.
Mhm.
What other business exists without investing in that business? I have to do it with my agency. And so when actors start to think like business owners, you see the shift. You see the shift, and everything else just becomes second nature. All that I've talked about with the professionalism, with the training, with the headshots, with the media, it just becomes part of how they breathe. You don't even think while you're breathing. And business owners, they just know what needs to take place to keep that business going 100%.
Carol, you are putting an exclamation on what I teach inside of my program about being the CEO and the owner of your business. And you're saying that you are running a business.
Mm-hmm.
What is one mistake that can cost an actor an opportunity without them, whether it be an audition or, something in regards to casting, whatever it may be?
Um, Sometimes I feel like actors may allow their ego to come into play that can work against them, um, and create a negative space for them. And that is sad and unfortunate because it can happen. It can happen. And so you have to surround yourself with people who are supporting you and investing in you as a business and not those who are there for the ride and that see it as a luxury because um sometimes I think the craft and the artistry and the business mindset and the constant hustle that we are all always in this industry, whether you're looking at an agent, an actor, casting directors, any kind of decision makers, anyone in production. There is no guarantee of that next gig. We are all chasing that next gig. And so you got to stay grounded and be present and humble in what you have in front of you. And you keep doing the work. And it's just like climbing stairs. You get to that next one. You get to the next one. You get to the next one. But keeping yourself humble and grounded, I think, is just as important as any other thing that we talked about here, honestly.
I love that. So, okay, so Carol, we're about to get into some numbers.
Okay.
Um, a lot of actors that are not represented, and even some that are represented, really don't even understand the numbers between, themselves and their agent. So, you can educate us today and clear some things up.
All right.
What is the standard commission an agent receives for union projects versus non-union projects? And how do the payment timelines differ between the two?
Want to see the full interview? You can watch the entire conversation by subscribing inside of the Booked Up app. And if you're not a part of the Booked Up Believers community and you are ready to learn how actors stay booked up without working a 9 to 5, just download the Booked Up app and sign up for the Actors 9 to 5 Breakup course. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Behind the Booking.